For millennia, we have been fed a gilded version of the gods, tales of heroism, wisdom, and divine splendor. We have been taught to marvel at their power, to admire their beauty, and to accept their dominion. But what if the radiant veneer of Olympus hid a truth far more ancient, far more visceral, and infinitely more terrifying? What if the very foundations of their power were built upon the screams of the violated, the taste of flesh and blood, and the unspeakable acts that stain the cradle of creation? Forget the glorious myths of heroes and heavens. Tonight we descend into the abyss of their origins, into the primal darkness where incest, cannibalism, and unspeakable violence forged the true, monstrous heart of the Greek pantheon. This is the other chapter. In the beginning, there was not order, but a consuming emptiness. From this void emerged chaos, and from chaos, the first great powers stirred. Gaea, the earth, the bountiful, life-giving mother, arose from the formless expanse. And with her, born of her own primordial essence, came Uranus, the starry heaven, her cosmic son, yet also her first husband. This was no gentle union, but a primal fusion, a necessary intertwining that defied mortal comprehension, a terrifying intimacy that blurred the lines of parent and spouse. From this first unsettling embrace, creation began, but so too did the seeds of an ancient curse, a cycle of transgression that would forever define the lineage of gods. The universe itself was born from an act that, to human eyes, was nothing short of grotesque. Uranus, now king of the cosmos, looked upon his burgeoning progeny with a tyrant's eye. Gaea groaned under the weight of his ceaseless embrace, bringing forth not only the graceful titans, but also monstrous aberrations that filled him with revulsion and fear. The Cyclopes, one-eyed giants of immense power, and the Hecatoncheires, beings with 50 heads and 100 arms, were deemed too terrible, too potent, to walk free. Uranus, in his paranoia, committed an act of unspeakable cruelty. He imprisoned them deep within Gaea's womb, in the deepest reaches of Tartarus, a suffocating darkness within the very body of their mother. Gaea writhed in agony, her heart a festering wound, as her husband denied her children the light, trapping them in an eternal, living tomb. The celestial father had become a prison warden, and the once harmonious cosmos echoed with the silent suffering of his monstrous offspring. The unending pain of her trapped children gnawed at Gaea's spirit. Her love for her progeny curdled into a bitter resentment for their oppressive father. She yearned for freedom, for vengeance, for an end to Uranus's tyrannical reign, but she was bound by the very act of creation. With a desperate plea, she turned to her other children, the Titans, seeking an ally against their cruel sire. Fear gripped most, for Uranus was absolute. But one, Cronus, the youngest and most ambitious, listened to his mother's poisoned whispers. He was filled not with pity, but with a cold, calculating desire for power. Gaea, with a sorrowful yet resolute heart, forged a weapon from the very iron within her own body, an adamantine sickle, sharp enough to cut the fabric of creation itself. The stage was set for the universe's first great patricide, a betrayal born of parental agony and filial ambition. As night fell and Uranus descended from the heavens to once again cover Gaea in his all-encompassing embrace, Cronus, hidden and emboldened by his mother's desperate will, struck. The act was swift, brutal, and irreversible. With the adamantine sickle, he severed the very source of his father's power, the wellspring of his celestial dominance. The heavens themselves seemed to shriek in silent agony as Uranus was dismembered, his primal force castrated. His reign ended in a shower of cosmic blood and seed. The vital essence of the sky god rained down upon the earth and into the sea, giving birth to a new generation of terrifying entities, the vengeful Erinyes, furies born from his spilled blood, destined to pursue those who committed kinslaying, the mighty giants, and even, from the frothing sea where his severed essence fell, the goddess of love, Aphrodite, in a grotesque paradox of beauty born from horror. Cronus, the Patricide, now sat upon the throne of the universe, but the curse of his father clung to him like a shroud. Uranus's dying breath, or perhaps the very nature of his act, delivered a chilling prophecy. Cronus, too, would be overthrown by his own child. Paranoia, a venomous legacy, consumed him. He married his sister Rhea, and with each child she bore, a new terror gripped his heart. To prevent the prophecy from coming true, Cronus committed an act of unfathomable cruelty, replicating the very imprisonment he had enacted upon his father. As each infant emerged from Rhea's womb, he devoured it whole, swallowing his own flesh and blood, a grotesque internal tomb. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, all disappeared into the churning darkness of their father's gullet, their cries silenced, their lives consumed. Rhea watched in horror, her heart shredded by each forced cannibalistic birth, until only one child remained. Rhea, broken by grief and fear, could not bear to lose another child to Cronus's insatiable hunger. When she bore her sixth child, Zeus, she hid him away in a cave on Crete, secretly swapping the infant for a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes. Cronus, oblivious in his paranoia, devoured the rock, believing he had once again cheated fate. But Zeus grew, nourished by nymphs and hidden from his monstrous father, a silent promise of future wrath. When he came of age, he returned, not with an army, but with a cunning plan. He tricked Cronus into drinking a potent emetic, forcing the Titan to vomit forth his swallowed children, now fully grown and furious. Thus began the Titanomachy, a war of unimaginable scale and brutality, a conflict that pitted sibling against sibling, parent against child, a generational feud that tore the very fabric of creation, a cosmic civil war fueled by ancient betrayals, and an unyielding thirst for power. After a decade of cataclysmic war, with the help of the freed Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, Zeus and his Olympian siblings finally triumphed. Cronus and most of the Titans were cast down into the eternal abyss of Tartarus, mirroring Uranus's own imprisonment of his children. The Olympians, the new victors, established their dominion upon the peak of Mount Olympus. Yet the cycle of violence and transgression, the dark genetic code of their lineage, was not broken. Zeus, now king, inherited not just the throne, but the very paranoia and tyranny that had defined his predecessors. He, too, lived in fear of being overthrown. His countless affairs, his ruthless punishments, his manipulation of mortals and gods alike, all echoed the brutal, self-serving actions of Uranus and Cronus. The bright, shining halls of Olympus were built upon the bedrock of patricide, infanticide, and constant power struggles, a foundation that ensured the new order would be just as flawed, just as terrifying, as the old. The so-called Golden Age of the Olympians was merely a continuation of the same bloody family feud, albeit with a new set of players. The crimes of the elder gods, the incest, the castration, the cannibalism, the constant fear and betrayal, forged a pantheon defined by its very brokenness. Zeus, the triumphant son, still bore the genetic imprint of his monstrous lineage. Hera, the queen, was consumed by vengeful jealousy. Hades ruled a terrifying underworld, Poseidon a tempestuous sea. Their power was absolute, their beauty undeniable, but beneath the surface simmered the primal urges, the ancient traumas, the psychological scars of their horrific origins. These dark truths explain the gods, capriciousness, their cruelty, their all-too-human flaws, magnified to cosmic proportions. They were not merely gods, but beings shaped by the unspeakable, forever tainted by the blood that formed their very essence. We have been told stories of gods who embody ideals, who represent the best of human aspiration. But the 8th chapter seeks the shadows where those stories truly begin. The Olympian gods, for all their glory, are a testament to the inescapable nature of their terrifying origins. They are not merely divine beings, but the living echoes of incestuous creation, of castration's shockwave, of cannibalism's primal scream. Their history is not one of serene majesty, but of a bloody, unforgiving family feud that repeats across generations, a cycle of power, paranoia, and unspeakable acts. History is written by the victors. This is the other chapter.